Archie and Lily, or their origins, or whether or not their births were legitimate.
She might not have actually carried her babies, one or both, that they may have used a surrogate.
She didn't actually have these pregnancies.
A surrogate just shattered Harry's world by questioning if he's actually Lilibet's biological father. While Meghan sits stunned, the legal paperwork tells a story that's about to blow the royal family apart.
It's also where Meghan and Harry made some major mistakes that only fueled all of these rumors and issues.
Royal watchers have been scratching their heads for years over the glaring inconsistencies surrounding Archie and Lilibet's birth records, but now we're looking at something that makes those paperwork anomalies seem like child's play. I've been following this saga since day one, and frankly, the more you examine the evidence, the more it becomes clear that something doesn't smell right in Montecito.
And this is such a massive, glaring, huge problem for Harry.
The latest accusations suggest that Harry might be facing the ultimate nightmare, is discovering that he has no biological connection to at least one of his supposed children.
But Archie's notably only included mention of the Queen and the royal family in the wording, but not on the actual document. And then they omitted the signatures from the doctor's presence, unlike previous notices. So there were no doctor's signatures at all.
Starting with the most damning revelation, sources close to the situation are now claiming that the Colorado woman who allegedly served as Lilibet's surrogate has broken her silence in private circles. According to these reports, she's questioning whether Harry provided the genetic material used in the conception process. The timing couldn't be worse for Harry, who's already dealing with the legal nightmare of having his title listed instead of his actual name on Lilibet's birth certificate. It's a move that essentially strips him of parental rights in American courts.
I was told that there are no details of any child born with the name Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor on June 4th, 2021.
Digging deeper into this mess, I think we need to address the elephant in the room regarding Harry's medical history. Childhood complications involving fertility issues aren't uncommon among royals, and if Harry's been dealing with such problems, it would explain why surrogacy became necessary in the first place. The speculation about his testicular hernia as a child has been floating around royal gossip circles for decades, and if that affected his ability to father children naturally, it opens up a whole can of worms about donor involvement.
Archie was denied a prince title due to institutional decisions, possibly rooted in race.
Meanwhile, Meghan's behavior patterns tell their own story, and honestly, it's hard to ignore the obvious differences in how she presents her relationship with each child. The emotional distance observers have noted between her and Archie, compared to her fierce protectiveness of Lilibet, suggests there might be biological reasons behind these preferences. If Lilibet was created using Meghan's own eggs with donor sperm, she'd still maintain that maternal biological connection, while Archie might represent a completely different arrangement.
Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019.
So, here's what we know about this mess is that the legal maneuvering around both birth certificates looks increasingly calculated when you examine it through this lens. Meghan, removing her full legal name from Archie's UK birth certificate while keeping it on Lilibet's US documentation creates a bizarre situation where each parent has questionable legal standing over one child but not the other. It's almost as if they've structured their family legally to ensure maximum leverage in case of future disputes.
They haven't had any verification of who gave birth to those children.
These concerns get even worse when you realize the alleged surrogate's potential revelations come at a time when Harry's already walking on thin ice regarding his American legal status. Without his actual legal name on Lilibet's birth certificate, he has no documented parental rights in the United States. Now, if biological paternity is also in question, Harry could find himself completely cut off from any claim to the child he's been presenting as his daughter to the world.
Certainly, the pregnancy with Archie was questionable as all get out. We've seen her kneeling down to talk to people. When you physically cannot do that, if there is a growing human being in your body and your stomach is extended out to wazoo, you're not squatting on the ground with your legs in front of you right where the bump would be, like it's not possible.
Looking at the timeline more closely, Meghan's supposed fertility clinic visit in Beverly Hills after her claimed miscarriage takes on new significance. Analysis from royal critics have pointed out that her demeanor and the medical pouch she carried were more consistent with egg retrieval procedures than trauma recovery. The speed of her public appearance and her composed behavior didn't match someone processing a devastating pregnancy loss. Naturally added CTA. Look, we've been tracking these inconsistencies for months, and every week brings another piece of this puzzle, which is exactly why our subscribers never miss the latest bombshells when they drop.
1 month, 2 month, 3 month, hit the baby mama when I'm stepping through the door.
She's
Yeah, I'm pregnant,
supposedly 9 months pregnant in the hospital room, dancing with a big belly. Harry's there too. She's kind of twerking. She's gonna twerk. Here comes Harry. She spreads her legs. She hikes her dress. She circles her genitals.
The drama escalates further when you look at the supposed birth footage of Lilibet that Meghan promoted. California hospitals in June 2021 had strict pandemic protocols. Masks were mandatory, visitors were limited, and medical procedures were heavily regulated. Yet the video shows none of these restrictions, appearing more like a staged photo shoot than authentic hospital documentation. How does a high-profile public figure get exempted from regulations that were affecting every other family in America?
Meghan potentially was not actually pregnant. I had initially believed that the child was real. He was just born of a surrogate.
If you are thinking that the real bombshell is surrogacy, well, it's not. It's about the systematic deception that's been used to maintain appearances while legally protecting certain interests. If Harry discovers he's not Lilibet's biological father and has no legal standing as her parent, Meghan essentially holds all the cards. She could legally erase him from their daughter's life with minimal legal consequences, especially given his precarious immigration status in the United States.
Because there is no way that Archie and Lily should be in the line of succession.
What makes this situation even more volatile is how it impacts the line of succession. Both children are currently in line for the British throne. But if their parentage is fraudulent or legally questionable, it creates constitutional chaos. The British monarchy has survived scandals before, but never one that potentially involves fake heirs and fabricated family trees. The palace's silence on these growing accusations is becoming more deafening by the day.
Daily Mail, who is showing the birth certificate, but they're showing it because they're angry that Harry's listing his name as the Duke of Sussex and His Royal Highness.
Here's where things get really messy when Harry's immigration status in America becomes critically important when you factor in these paternity questions. Without documented parental rights to an American-born child, his visa situation could become precarious if Meghan decides to weaponize the courts. I've seen divorced couples use children as leverage, but this takes manipulation to an entirely different level. The man could potentially lose his family, his legal standing, and his right to remain in the country, all in one devastating blow.
They kept Archie's birth private for over 8 hours. They did not tell people that he was actually born and arrived until 8 hours later.
Now let's talk about something that's been bothering me, which is the absence of typical pregnancy symptoms and behaviors during both supposed pregnancies. Royal protocol usually involves regular medical updates and careful monitoring of pregnant royal family members. Yet both pregnancies seem to fly under the radar with minimal official documentation. The lack of credible medical professionals going on record about either birth raises questions about whether traditional pregnancies even occurred. Another thing that doesn't add up is the financial side of this ordeal. Surrogacy costs, especially with egg and sperm donors, can easily reach 6 figures per attempt. If multiple attempts were needed, or if ongoing legal arrangements require continued payments, it would justify their desperate scramble for Netflix deals, book contracts, and speaking engagements. Money talks and their financial behavior suggest they're covering expenses far beyond typical royal lifestyle costs.
Meghan and Harry never came out to correct that, to say, no, we understand that this is not how the law is written and how the protocols are, and we weren't trying to say that this was an ist moment. They could have come out and corrected that after the Oprah interview when they saw how everybody took it and what Meghan really said on tape.
The Colorado connection becomes even more significant when you realize that the state surrogacy laws are among the most permissive in America. Unlike California, where surrogate names typically appear on initial documentation, Colorado allows intended parents to be listed directly on birth certificates, without revealing the surrogate's identity. This legal framework would make it nearly impossible to trace the biological origins of any children born through Colorado surrogacy arrangements, creating the perfect cover for complex genetic arrangements involving multiple donors.
Where the problem is misleading the press.
When you put it all together, the legal anomalies, medical inconsistencies, and now potential surrogate revelations paint a picture of a family built on lies and legal manipulation. Harry's alleged shock at discovering he might not be Lilibet's biological father would be devastating enough, but combined with his complete lack of legal parental rights, it creates a perfect storm that could destroy everything he thought he knew about his post-royal life.
Harry and Meghan have, because they seem to be very keen on their children keeping their title. The question is, will their kids keep their titles?
Whether these allegations prove true or false, the damage to Harry and Meghan's credibility is already done. The questions surrounding their children's origins have moved from gossip to serious legal territory, and the answers they've avoided providing for years might soon be forced into the open. When your entire public identity is built on being devoted parents, having that foundation crumble doesn't just end a marriage. Instead, it ends a carefully constructed empire of sympathy and victimhood that's generated millions in deals and public support.
Went down to Colombia, and when they were in Colombia, Harry supposedly was very visibly annoyed and upset the whole time he was there.
What do you think about these explosive allegations? Could Harry really have been kept in the dark about his own children's origins? And what would happen to the Sussex brand if these claims are proven true?